Hi, I'm Mike Zyda, and the next presentation here is about the Pacific Electric Building in downtown Los Angeles. It is a building in which I got to live in for 10 years, and I thought it was a wonderful place. So let's put up some slides so I can show you some of the pictures of the building and talk about its history, and we'll see how that goes. All right. So, we can do that, share that, share that, share. Okay, cool. All right, let's go. Full screen. Here we are. This is the Pacific Electric building from the outside with the very, noir look to it. I was trying to make it look cool. Anyway, let's move on. This is that picture is probably about 2013 December when I moved into the building. I moved out in December of 2023. This is 2009. This building. It's very lively at that time, and it's a pretty cool building. So I'll go through a lot of this with you. This is what it looks like in about 1908. 1908, this is a postcard that was hand printed, and it's painted, and you can see that it has trains coming out onto Main Street, and they're going to go north towards Pasadena. The building across the street from the Pacific Electric building is the Santa Fe building, which is another railroad company. Pacific Electric was its own electric railroad company and is very large service throughout the city of Los Angeles for a number of years. This is about a 1916 picture from the back of the Pacific Electric building. In the back of the building, what you see is that it's got train tracks that are basically across the street. South Los Angeles is the street. So on the right-hand side is the corner of 6th and South Los Angeles, and the left-hand side would be the direction of 7th Street. And these trains would go into the building across the bridge and be boarded by people inside of the Pacific Electric building. So it's a historic building. It was built by Henry Huntington in 1905. This is a beautiful picture of trains coming out and going north on South Main Street. This building was called the Huntington Building by a number of people when it was in the early days after the railroad's founder, or simply the 6th and Main building. It opened in 1905 as in the core of Los Angeles as the main train station for the Pacific Electric Railway, as well as the company's headquarters. Company's headquarters is up on the 7th floor. So you look at this picture, the first floor of occupancy above the train entrance is 2nd floor, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. And then there are 2 floors above that, which are basically penthouse 1 and penthouse 2. So Main Street stations serve passengers boarding trains for south and east of Southern California, of downtown. This is Henry Huntington. I've always wanted to see what does this guy look like? I've heard his name my whole life. He's the man behind the Pacific Electric building. At the beginning of the 20th century, Huntington created a train system which allowed Los Angeles and the surrounding communities to the ability to grow into the metropolis it is today. And Huntington and the Pacific Electric Railway Company moved into the almost finished building during the last week of July 1904. The Pacific Electric offices were located on the 7th floor. The building required 500,000 pressed bricks, and Huntington personally selected the Los Angeles Pressed Brick Company for the job. Pressed bricks. I didn't even know what that was. All right. Burton Charles Van Eman was electrical engineer, and the building's elevators were produced by a San Francisco company called the Van Eman Engineering Company. And in an article about contractors who constructed the building, it was noted that without elevators, the offices above the 5th floor would have no value. In fact, if you've ever taken the stairs up and down in the building, they're some of them are steep, like when you come up from the lobby and take the stairs up to the second floor. It's a very steep set of stairs, and I've gone up those and down those when the fire alarm was going off in this building. There are 8 elevators in the building. 6 were inside the main entrance of the Pacific Electric building, and 2 were located on Main Street, but were strictly for the private use of one of the tenants. So, in the years I was there were 4 elevators in the lobby. There were 2 what I'd call dead elevators. A little bit. There's like a doorway that would go into the Arts and House restaurant, and there's 2 elevators behind that I never saw run in a million years. Of the 4 that were in the main lobby, one of them never ran because it had been used for spare parts to keep the other 3 elevators alive. 6, it was kind of funny. 6 were inside the main entrance of the Pacific Electric building when it was built. 2 were located on Main Street, but were strictly for private use of one of the tenants. And according to this article, which was titled Contractors of the New Huntington Building, Burton Charles Van Eman was an experienced engineer and an acknowledged authority on matters related to electric motors, elevators, etc. So he basically arrived in California in 1863 and built this company and that built the elevators for the Pacific Electric building. Edward Sigourney Cobb is listed as building designer architect. He worked for the Pacific Electric Railway and designed many of the trolley depots along the train line. He was elected to the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce in March of 1903, and in 1912, Cobb was chosen, along with Edward S. Johnson and Charles E. Warner, to go undercover and expose graft in the Owens River project, which is great. This is probably the backstory behind the movie Chinatown, if you ever have seen that film. And of course, that's not a documentary, it's a film, and it has fiction in it, but that was sort of the backstory underneath that film. In April 1912, Cobb was elected to the post of Sentinel in Whittier's Knights Templar Lodge, and he's listed as the designer and builder of the Pacific Electric building. In November 1902, before the building was finished, the Jonathan Club signed a 10-year lease to occupy the top 2 floors of the Pacific Electric building, floors 8 and 9. If you are in the building today, that's Penthouse 1 and Penthouse 2. In a Times article about the Jonathan Club's relocation to the Pacific Electric building, the only architect mentioned was Cobb, who, according to the article, produced voluminous plans for the Jonathan Club members to view and explain the plans in detail to Jonathan Club members. Yet there is a different architect attached to the building as well. It's sort of interesting. And it's this guy, Thornton Fitzhugh. He's the alternate architect. And I put his obit on the side here. In that obit, Fitzhugh is listed as having built the Pacific Electric building with the Jonathan Club in its roof garden, the Territorial Penitentiary, and the Insane Hospital of Arizona. I've always think, we don't build anything that's called a hospital for the insane anymore, but here's a guy who not only did that, but he also built a territorial penitentiary and was part of the Pacific Electric building architecture. He drafted the first building ordinance of Cincinnati, where he was originally from, and served on the Los Angeles Building Ordinance Commission of 1905 and 1906, and the Theater Commission of the later year. He seems like a very serious character. And there's this journal called The American Architect and it's dated November 11th, 1908, and they printed pictures taken of the Pacific Electric building after it was constructed. And so you can see this. This is a complicated building trying to figure out which side is which. And the only way I can think about this is, I think the right-hand piece of this is the front side of the building on South Main Street. And then the rest of it, the part that's on South Los Angeles, is the part on the extreme left-hand side. And that's the part where there's going to be a building built across the street, which is going to have the train track in 1916, where the train tracks are going to be. And remember, this picture is from 1908, so it's not yet there. And these are the parts of the Jonathan Club that are in the American Architect magazine or journal, whichever it is. And I ran them through a program that colorizes them. It's the Colorize app on the iPhone. So I'm going to show you those pictures in color because I think they look cooler. So this is the building, same building, but it colorizes it. This is the rooftop garden of the Jonathan Club. So if you were in the building today, this is penthouse one. This is where the swimming pool is. This is where the outdoor space for the residents to be. And those rooftop, I don't know, pergolas are still in the building today. This is penthouse two level ballroom. So the ballroom uh, is I got in to see it one time when the woman who worked in the front office brought the key up and we went up and took a look at it. And there were two Christmas trees in there, and we had to leave right away. Uh, when the building was renovated by ICO and it opened in 2005 as a residential building. I think it took them from 2000 to 2005 to turn it into residence from just being building offices. And ICO owned it, and I don't know what year they stopped uh, owning it because I moved into the building in 2013, and by that time, Essex owned the building, but Essex didn't own the ballroom. The ballroom was still owned by ICO, and the Artisan House restaurant space and lunch counter and store were still owned by ICO, and all of the um, uh, restaurants that were down 6th Street, those building spaces were still owned by ICO and not by Essex. So this is very strange. And the parking lot was owned by ICO, even though Essex owned the building. So it's one of these strange who owns what kind of things. This is again, it's a outside structure. These pictures are from 1908. So they look absolutely gorgeous place to go. Very nice, well-maintained garden. Again, this is the Jonathan Club. Pretty special place. It's in a different building now. This is if you were up on penthouse one and you're at the back of the if you know this is you're at this point you're on the stairs on your way up to penthouse two, and penthouse one is down these stairs to what's basically the library today. Again, these are 1908 pictures that I colorized. Well, Jonathan Club, a little bit about it. The avocado industry of Southern California began at the Jonathan Club, and Huntington was involved in that and got very big into having avocados in the restaurant that was inside of the Pacific Electric building. UCLA was started at the Jonathan Club, and you can read this story. I'm not going to go through it totally, but UCLA was conceived one day in the fall of 1917 at the Jonathan Club by Edward A. Dixon, the only Southern California member of the Board of the Regents of the University of California. And he brought Ernest C. Moore to lunch that day, and Moore was the new president of Los Angeles State Normal School on Vermont Avenue. And Dixon's idea was to adopt Moore's institution as the Southern California branch of the University of California with Moore as chief executive. And so some interesting things and hit the Jonathan Club in the Pacific Electric building. This is a 1905 concept art of what the building would look like. And you can see it's got pictures of the train tracks coming out, and the streets are dirt back then. Streets are dirt, and you can see that there's, horseless carriages, there, and there's also horse-drawn carriages. If you look at the building really closely, and you see it says PE, Pacific Electric, in the architecture of the building, which I never noticed that on the building until I actually found this picture. Okay. And it's listed in the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of the Interior, and a rehabilitation project by ICO Development LLC that opened in August of 2005. And that was, 1905 when the building was built, and the rehabilitation of the building was 2,500 years later. And I always thought that was very cool. You can see this as you walk right into the building. It's kept shiny. It's beautiful. I already told you about the building was designed by Fitzhugh and Cobb, but we don't have any information on why each of these guys claims to be the architect. So maybe the real truth is Cobb was the designer and Fitzhugh was a real licensed architect, and they worked together. It's not the tallest in Los Angeles. It's 9 floors, enclosed the greatest number of square feet in any building west of Chicago for many decades. I think it's about 468,000 square foot, if I recall correctly. Above the train station, covering the lower floors, were 5 floors of offices, and the top two was Jonathan Club, one of the city's leading businessmen's clubs, introduced by magnates from the Northeast. After the great merger of Pacific Electric into Southern Pacific Railroad in 1911, the Pacific Electric building became the home of the Southern Pacific as well. I put a lot of these pictures of the red car going throughout Los Angeles. And one thing you learn is the red car railroad had all kinds of different cars and forms. So you look at that, it's not the same as this car. This car has a cowcatcher in the front. It's going to Long Beach. There's going to be cows and other things on the way down there, whereas San Fernando Valley is more agricultural this time. The building opened January 15th, 1905 as a terminal for the electric railways. 1914, a total of 1,626 scheduled Pacific Electric trains entered or left Los Angeles at Main Street Station in 3,262 interurban car trips daily. So this is a very busy building. My guess is if you lived on the second floor and you heard all of these trains coming in and out, it would be quite noisy. Again, this is a beautiful one because you can see those train tracks on Main Street. And those train tracks are not there today. Although one of the security guards who worked in the lobby when I lived in the building actually told me that he got to work in the year 2000 his job was to help cover up the train tracks that were left over from the Pacific Electric Railroad. And in fact, in the last 2 years I was living in the Pacific Electric building, the 7th Street was renovated and dug up. And you could see the train tracks were just under the asphalt and embedded in concrete. And when they went and renovated, they just left the train tracks under there, and they're once again buried underneath 7th Street. So they're still there, but not usable as a train track. This is probably one of the most unusual pictures. Most of the pictures you find of the Pacific Electric building are outside. And if you go into the building today, it doesn't look like this at all. And this is the interior view of the Pacific Electric building, with which is the main streetcar station located in Main and 6th. And there's a streetcar going to Long Beach, and there's one going to Pasadena. And there's a restaurant visible. It's the Palm Garden and Buffet, a small lunch counter managed by this guy named Eugene Machtig. And there's another business, perhaps a men's clothier, is also present in the building at this time. Right now, this is where the parking is. So if you came into the building, these train tracks are long gone. This is how you would enter the parking. And on the left would be a wall that's, where the parking attendants are. And you'd have to either go out the front of the building or around the back, probably where those 3 guys are standing by the Long Beach train. There would be a doorway there that would get you into the lobby from the inside. In today's terms, this is, again, 1905 picture. This is 1906, where you can see the streetcar turning onto the concourse. This is going to San Pedro. So it's going to turn and go south on South Main. Now, this is kind of funny because South Main today is one-way street. But in 1905, trains went both ways. And cars and horse-drawn carriages went both ways. This is the exterior of the building in 1910. This is corner of 6th and South Main. You can see the Santa Fe building on the left. You can see, Pacific Electric in the middle, and the building next door is there. That's called the Mercantile Apartments now, Mercantile Lofts, and that's owned by ICO also. So you can see where the train tracks come out, and you can see, of course, horse-drawn carriages and horseless carriages there as well. Original name for cars. This is 1910. Again, this is a view of the Pacific Electric building. You've got a train bound for Edendale and a policeman who's got someone sitting on a chair next to him. And in 1908, Cole's Pacific Electric Buffet was opened on the lower floor of the building and is still there today, although it's called Cole's French Dip. It's not called Pacific Electric Buffet anymore. In all the years I lived there, it was never a buffet. And Cole's claims to be Los Angeles' oldest restaurant and pub. It has been in operation in the same place since its founding. It is one of two local establishments which lay claim to have invented the French dip sandwich. The other is Philippe's. I've had both of them. I like Cole's a whole lot better than Philippe's, although there's people who like Philippe's a whole lot better than Cole's. And I have no idea why. The ones in Cole's are better. All right. This is elevated tracks again that were built in 1916. And this picture is about from 1943. So the trains are running from this back platform, and people come out to this platform now at this time. They're no longer running from out the front of the building. They just run from the back. So car 995 is a franchise car on the Santa Monica airline, visible in the foreground with the car number 1263 is going to Santa Ana. All right. This is a big change. In 1950 picture, and you can see that there's now buses, and the buses come out from underneath this elevated tracks of the Pacific Electric train. This bus driver pulls a Los Angeles Limited number 2801 city bus away from a depot underneath the elevated rails of the Pacific Electric red car. Number 310 sits on the rails above the buses, with the Pacific Electric building in the background. In the mid-1900s, the streetcar system primarily operated by Pacific Electric was at its peak, 1901 to 1961. However, the rise of automobiles, increased congestion, and the adoption of diesel buses led to a significant decline in streetcar ridership. In 1955, a mass abandonment of streetcar lines occurred, leading to the retirement of many cars. You can go see the documentary Who Framed Roger Rabbit. No, that's not a documentary. It's an entertainment film. But that story of the abandonment of the Red Car Railroad is the basis for that story as well. By 1963, the last remaining 5 streetcar lines and 2 trolley bus lines were replaced with diesel buses. So this is a picture from 1950. And this is a relief map just showing you how far out and how extensive the Red Car Railroad was. And it went all the way out to San Bernardino, Arrowhead Hot Springs, went out down to Corona. And when it was closed, a lot of these tracks sat abandoned for many years. In fact, when I first got to USC in 2005, there was a remainder of the Red Car Railroad tracks that went down exposition. And they just sat there doing nothing for years and years until it was renovated. And that's where the Expo line goes today. So it's actually, once again, the entire Los Angeles Metro train system is being built to recreate basically what Pacific Electric Railway had years and years ago. And it's taken them forever. Of course, it's all brand new, and not all of this will be implemented anytime soon. In 1942, the terminal was converted to accommodate the Pacific Electric's growing fleet of buses, and trains continued to enter and use the original concourse, basically out of the original building, until 1950, when Northern District, Pasadena, Sierra Madre, Monrovia, Glendora rail service was abandoned. And after that, the PE concourse saw no trains and Main Street tracks were no longer used. The remaining service to Glendora, the harbor, and Bellflower was provided at the rear of the Pacific Electric terminal on outdoor passenger loading platforms and stub tracks at the rear. So this picture of the trains coming out, the left-hand side of this picture, you can see where people stood, and then they get on these trains, they go up and they come down a ramp on San Pedro Street, and passengers walked into the terminal concourse through the Pacific Electric building to a bridge that got you to this platform. Over the next decade, interurban rail routes to Bellflower, the Watts Local, and the Long Beach and Harbor area were abandoned and replaced by motor coaches, which is a fancy name for buses. The last active route was the Long Beach line. The final blimp, multiple unit interurban train to use the terminal, so named for their unusual plump size and round front windows, to Long Beach was on April 9th, 1961, and was in MTA green livery, no longer painted by the famous and classic Pacific Electric red. MTA bus service continued to operate from 6th and Main until 1964. And the MTA ran freeway flyer motor coach service to old PE destinations from the basement of the nearby Greyhound terminal, and this continued during rapid transit district operations. So I'm going to back up one picture. So if you look at this picture, where this train ramp is and where those buses are coming out, that became a Greyhound bus terminal after the trains were gone and the tracks were pulled out. And today it's a parking lot. It's a multi-level parking lot. And still on the side, it says Greyhound, but the letters have been ripped off. So you just see the old glue of the letters being on the building. Here's some more old trains. You know, a lot of these cars were taken as souvenirs. This is one that's in Bellflower. I think it's a museum. This is the sort of the plate that shows you where all the train tracks went. And I'm not going to talk about it, just show you how complex and big the train system was. And we're trying to recreate this, which I think is quite funny. This is one of those Pacific Electric trains that has beautiful windows that you can look out at the front. It looks like a regular train. And this is, again, one going to El Monte. I think this is probably sitting in El Monte as a historic relic. And this is somebody recreated the Pacific Electric logo. You can actually find this logo in various places inside the Pacific Electric building, but it's in black and white, and it's in stone. And these are what some of the tickets look like. And I didn't know what year these tickets were from, but you can see you get a hole punch saying I'm in Los Angeles and I'm taking it to Universal City, and that's what you'll get, another hole punch there when you get off. And this is like one of the most famous pictures. This is like when the Pacific Electric is really marked as dead, is when they stacked all of these old trains up in a giant mountain like this and squashed a bunch of them in the front. And I put this through the Colorize app to show you, this is the end of the Pacific Red Car Railroad. It was very sad. And I would have loved to have this type of train running when I was a kid growing up in San Fernando Valley. And today there's not really any service other than buses up there. I think they're trying to get the trains up there. Following the closure of the terminal's main floor depot, the former waiting room and bus concourse were converted to a parking garage. I think I already said that. With the commercial and social decline of Main Street and the east side of downtown in general, the rented office and the upper floors of the building became less desirable and gradually emptied out. Basically, the east side of downtown is Skid Row. So, in fact, this building, when I moved into it in 2013, was on the edge of Skid Row. So my apartment was technically at 6th and South Los Angeles Street, which is the street parallel to Main Street, further east. That was the dividing line to the start of Skid Row when I moved into the building. And at some point in time, they changed that dividing line, and Main Street became the dividing line, which is an embarrassment because Main Street is where City Hall is and where LAPD is and federal courts are and the federal building and the state building. I mean, Main Street is very important, but they've sort of added it to Skid Row. The building was largely vacant for many years, though it became a popular location for movie and television industries. One of the things I remember when I first moved into the Pacific Electric building was the TV show 24 with Kiefer Sutherland. I don't know if you remember that. Every time he's in a bad neighborhood, he's on South Main Street, usually up by the Roslyn Hotel or by the Pacific Electric building, and going east on 6th Street. Over 400 location shoots have taken place in the Pacific Electric building, including scenes from Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump has a piece that's right on the Cole's French Dip side, LA Confidential does some shoot. I did a shoot here. Jumpin' Jack Flash and interior shots for the 70s streets of San Francisco TV series were in the Pacific, around in and around the Pacific Electric Building. And in fact, there are a couple times when I came out the front door of the Pacific Electric Building and there were uh, New York taxis. New York taxis with smoke coming out the back as if there was some kind of humidity in the air. And we were pretending like we were in New York City at that time. A recent Apple TV series called Sugar has one of its key characters left dead in the trunk of a car in the parking structure of the Pacific Electric Building. And then the detective goes upstairs to penthouse 1 to open the door and look through the dead woman's apartment before the police find her body. While I was in the when I moved into the building, there was an episode of Kerry Washington's show that was shot in the building. This is the one where her father and she are having dinner, and she's trying to kill her father with special forces, and all the special forces guys get killed. And that was shot before the day I moved into the building. Another shoot that was shot on the 13th of March 2018 was the finale shoot for season 3 of Lucifer TV show, which I really like. Tom Ellis, Lauren German, and I went up to penthouse 1 when they were getting ready to shoot the film, and they had all of these interesting statues and candelabras and busts and bookshelves and crazy stuff they had brought up to decorate this space. They had taken out, this is the penthouse 1 library for the building. Usually they had moved all of that stuff out. Here's a guard to watch all this stuff. He said okay for me to take pictures, and this is very cool. They always bring Rosebud, for the film industry. The Orson Welles film that shows you Rosebud is always classic, and they had it here. And penthouse 1 is where Lucifer and Lauren German Tom Ellis and Lauren German are fighting off. People are trying to kill them from penthouse 2 level with machine guns and things up at the top. And he opens up his big wings and protects her, and she does get shot. And he has to heal her in his special way. This is being shot by Warner Brothers Television. You can always know when the film shoot is there that there's a truck like this that's outside, which is basically, they bring in all of this electrical and all of the props. And this is Lauren German on the right, and this is Lauren German and Tom Ellis on the left. I was walking back from swimming in the morning, and they were shooting on Harlem Place, which is a little alley. There's across Main Street from Pacific Electric is a big parking lot, which is at the back of this picture. And there's a building was called SB Main at the time, this is back of SB Main. The building on the left is the Majestic, if you know what that building is in downtown. They did not want their pictures taken, but how could I resist? I just took my camera out, put the camera on, and took pictures as I walked along. And I caught them by accident. There is some of the crew. And this is the 2 set, because they were also going to shoot down in the alley as well. This is corner of 7th and South Main. Kohl's. Here's Kohl's. Was opened on the lower floor of the building in 1908. Still there today. Again, they claim to be Los Angeles' oldest restaurant. It's one of the oldest. And the pub has been there in operation since the founding. It's one of 2 local establishments, which, again, they claim to have invented the French dip. Additionally, the building had the architectural offices of Green and Green, which are quite famous architects circa 1905. Oh, this is just a little, I saw this on Instagram, and this was the LAPD was looking for one of the tenants who lived on the 6th floor, and he had tried to evade the police by jumping out the window and landing on the Kohl's sign, and broke the Kohl's sign, and had to get that repaired. Kohl's unique tabletops were made from the varnished doors of retired red cars of the Pacific Electric Railway. The tables were removed as part of the 2007-2008 renovation of Kohl's and were reportedly relocated to the developer's nearby corporate headquarters above Clifton's cafeteria, which is over on, I think, is it Broadway? Broadway. South Broadway. Henry Cole also operated Los Angeles' first check cashing service from Kohl's. He was later arrested in 1942 by the federal government for fraud. Kohl's was designated a Los Angeles Historic Cultural Monument in 1989, and the location resembles the bar from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, complete with reference to French dip on the menu. And in fact, I believe the bar scene from Who Framed Roger Rabbit was actually shot in the ballroom in the Pacific Electric building. It has exactly the same windows, but I can't get anyone to verify that. This is the Kohl's Pacific Electric Buffet 1908 plaque. This is built into the ground initially, and in all the years I lived in the building, this plaque was long gone. I never ever saw this plaque. 2005, the building was converted by 2005. The building was converted by ICO Group into residential live-work lofts. It's occupied by residents. Several commercial tenants have filled the first floor space along 6th Street, basically restaurants. And Kohl's is there. The association club is there. There used to be a wonderful hamburger place called the Black Sheep, which is my favorite. And then a whole bunch of other places that have come and gone on the south side of 6th Street, near South Los Angeles Street. Just the close access to the homeless that come over from Skid Row has basically made it very impossible for restaurants to stay alive here. On the north side of 6th Street, there is Las Perlas, which is a wonderful mezcal bar that has internal little taco restaurant, taco and tortas restaurant that, not tortas, the roundings of Mexican food. It's just like the food inside is great. It's a separate check than getting a drink. The original Kohl's space was renovated and divided to add another restaurant and bar, which is basically Black Sheep and the association. Again, the same picture from outside, give it a noir feel to what it looks like. This is, I think, a really bright look at what this building looks like. So it's especially lit. You can see the mercantile lofts next door. You can see the Cecil Hotel further down. The Cecil Hotel is now an SRO space for people who were homeless and are now inside. Again, this same shot I put in here again to remind you, it was built as a train station, and a lot of buildings are gone that were the history of Los Angeles. As you come out onto South Main, you see a building on the left. That building is long gone. That is a giant parking lot right now. There is a plan to build a 34-story building there by Barry Schei, but it's never been approved by the city hall. And so Barry Schei has sold all of his holdings in downtown and to other people, and he's basically abandoned downtown. Again, this is a great one where you still see horse-drawn carriages out about 1908. This is a more recent picture. I took this picture pretty much when the Artisan House was still alive, which is, I know it was alive in 2013 and 2014 because I did a lot of business meetings there. I lived in this building. I had apartment 435 and I had apartment 411 as a little game development studio and a prototyping studio. Artisan House had a wonderful restaurant where you could sit outside or inside. It had a store where you could go and buy gifts, like a bottle of wine for a party you were going to, or it had food like milk and eggs and small things like that you might need if you lived in the building. There was also a deli counter where you could buy sandwiches and other things like salads. They had a wonderful salmon salad. So restaurant's been closed a long time now. They supposedly rented the space, leased the space to someone else. And then when COVID happened, he sort of backed out and said, I'm not going to do anything. But he had to pay the lease for however many years, and they just left it empty. And when he finally moved out, he gutted the furniture inside. So if you go in that space right now, it's a wreck. This is the front of the building. When I first moved in, you can see pictures on the right on the wall there. And those are pictures of the original look of the trains and things. And then I think ICO put those there. And at some point, they decided to take their pictures back, and there's some other Southern Pacific pictures in there that are not as interesting as these pictures. Probably I could send them digital pictures of that I've got in this PowerPoint that are just would probably make it better looking for them. But this is the lobby of the Pacific Electric building. It's a very safe building. You have to have a fob to get in the building. This is what the restaurant and store and looked like from the outside. And it was wonderful to sit out here and eat until the homeless people just got too aggressive. So you could be eating dinner out here and they would just not leave and kind of wreck the feel. This is Cole's. You can see the signs. It's great. This is the rooftop pool. The building with the half circle windows, that's the ballroom. And there's something like it's like the nephew of the owner of ICO has his nephew living in there, and they rent this out for parties and other special events. I've been told that Essex now owns those spaces, but I'm not sure. If you go out and walk on the sidewalk out front, what you'll see is this danger sign embedded in the ground. And this is where the trains came out. This is now parking. So it's cars coming out, but the danger signs are there. And everyone who sees it has their picture taken. This is John Hankey, the founder of Niantic Labs. This is Scott Easley, one of my favorite teachers from USC. He's an awesome guy. And this is the library of Pacific Electric as it looks today. It's beautiful. If you wanted a quiet space, if you had a roommate or children and you wanted a quiet space to read, this would come up here. The books are books from tenants who are moving out or who are done with the books and don't have any room in their apartment. I put a stack of books in this bookshelf, and I came back a week later to look to see if there were if those books were there, and my books are all gone. And so you can kind of see the Penthouse 2 level up here. That's where, this is where the big fight in the Lucifer show happened. And it was, but all this furniture was taken out. All the books were taken out. And I took this picture during COVID because you really everyone during COVID was afraid to go outside. And so I walked around the floors of the buildings, up and down the stairs as cardio. The swimming pool at the Los Angeles Athletic Club was closed for COVID. And I took this picture because this was sort of reminiscence of the loneliness of COVID because there was absolutely nobody in the library and using this chair. This is what the pool looked like during COVID, very quiet. And this is Christmas time because you can see there's 2 Christmas trees over in the ballroom for the nephew who lived there. And this is today, it's a beautiful place. If you want to come out and hang out, although this is baking hot if it's a sunny day, you should have a hat. You should have sunscreen because it's really hot up there. Night's the best time. There's a hot tub there that is very helpful if you hurt your legs or knees or joints. And I used to sit in it when I was healing my knee. This is aiming south. If you can see Long Beach fireworks from here when they're shooting off fireworks down by the Queen Mary. And you're looking towards Los Angeles Airport. Sometimes you see film shoots and they put up these really big lights and they're right by your window. That's pretty amazing. Sometimes you'll sit there and you don't have to turn your power on. In fact, there is so much ambient light in downtown that I never needed the night light because all the lights were on. This is the hallway on my floor. This is my apartment is behind me. This is what you'll see is folded marble. So you'll see 2 sheets of marble were cut out of one piece and then folded. So on the right-hand side, you can see the dividing line of the folded marble. This folded marble, if you go down to most of the apartments on this floor, they have this wire mesh window, and it looks like a detective office or a detective office from the 30s and 40s films. And in fact, I think the movie Seven was shot on one of these floors, and they made one of these floors the headquarters for the police department. I think, in fact, it was I think it was on 6th floor, and 6th floor down the hall, what used to be the Hall of Mirrors, looks completely different now. All the mirrors have been taken out. This is what my apartment looked like. I had a table for 8, beautiful couch. and a beautiful bed. So it's one giant room with a private bathroom. And there's kind of a wraparound here. This is a 1,038 square foot apartment. Beautiful windows. You can see outside, and it's lit up at night. And in this apartment, it's a corner apartment, 435, fourth floor corner. And you see every single sunrise. The sunsets are on the other side of the building. I prefer the sunrise. So you see the spinning sign. The spinning sign has been defaced by taggers. You can see this building that's advertising Hotel Cecil with low rates. And this is looking towards Los Angeles Central Division, which is basically 2 blocks away. There's a helicopter pad right there. I've got lots of pictures of helicopters. You can see the Star Apartments, which is housing for homeless with Los Angeles County Health Services on the first floor. You can see the Midnight Mission. You can see the Los Angeles Mission, which is that copper cylinder on the left-hand side. So there's 60,000 homeless in Los Angeles, and 47,000 of them are in Skid Row. We're looking at Skid Row. All right, this is my apartment. I love this apartment. I had a great time living in this building, and I would recommend it to you highly, despite the neighborhood, right? So very cool. You just have to buy furniture. And this is when I moved out. I had to take pictures the last of time when I lived there. I still had a towel there. You can see what it looks like when it's empty. And this is beautiful sunny day when I was moving out. I had to grab my last things, put them in my car, turn in my keys, and drive to Carmel, to where I live now. This is a little video of when I moved out. Hi, this is Mike Zyda, apartment 435, Pacific Electric Lofts building. This is my last 5 minutes. I'm moving out and taking a video of what it all looks like, completely empty. It is empty. All my furniture is gone. My last 19 years in Los Angeles. Oh, I left a towel. I'll leave that. It's all here. It's all gone. DTLA out. Inside of that closet is a washer and dryer. When I first moved into the building, there were not washers and dryers. There was a community washing and drying machine space. That space is now storage units for that you can rent from the building separately from your rent of your apartment. And that's really nice. And it's nice to have washer and dryer inside, although they are very noisy. So you put the washing in, go to the gym for an hour and come back and put it in the dryer. This is what sunrise looks like. And there's this new building that's being built by the Weingart Center. I'm sure it's done now, and it's for homeless services. Again, there's a lot of building going on for homeless services in downtown. And I took the sunrise picture every day that it wasn't cloudy in the 10 years that I lived in the building. In fact, I moved into the building on the 10th of December, 2013. I moved out on the 9th of December, 2023, basically one day short of 10 years. Or maybe it's 10 years. You would just say 10 years. This is 6th Street down into Skid Row. You can go to the Arts District this way, but you're going to pass by what look like bread lines in the Depression with people waiting in line to get a morning meal or a dinner meal or an afternoon meal. You're going to see it's built up with tents. I think for a long time on 6th Street, out my window was Tent City, and South Main Street was homeless encampments from, I think, 11th or 12th Street all the way up to Temple Street, right in front of City Hall and LAPD. And there had been a court ruling that said nothing could be done about this. So the LAPD said, we're not doing anything about homelessness. The City Hall said, we're not doing anything about homelessness. And Sheriff Villanueva, he put together a plan for Venice Beach and for downtown. And he went and got all the 200 people who are living in tents on Venice Beach into housing in a week and had trash people come and clean it up. He used Los Angeles Housing Services Authority, LASA, and he used those same people on South Main Street. And after 2 or 3 years of nothing but homeless tents and homeless encampments, he cleaned it all up and made sure they couldn't come back. And he was rewarded by being fired by the LA County Board of Supervisors for having done something outside of his job description. All of us appreciate what he did to live downtown. Anyway, here's some great references. I'll put these in the notes of the YouTube video. There was a MisterDangerous public Pacific Electric site, which I just found recently, came out in 2022. There's an Essex Pacific Electric loft rental website. If you want to rent, just look for Essex Pacific Electric and you'll find it. And there's early Los Angeles historic buildings site, water and power. And so these are fairly nice things to find. And acknowledgments to all my great friends who live in this building or visited me here, especially Sarah Merrow is a street artist in downtown. At some point, I should do a presentation on her. And Monica Sue was the woman who ran the Pacific Electric Lofts leasing office when I first moved in. And she was so helpful, and she was helpful until Essex moved her to a different building. And now she has children, and I'm not sure if she's still working, but maybe she is. She was awesome. And we all missed her when she left. She used to do quarterly parties at the rooftop place near the pool where people could test different beers or test different coffees from businesses in and around downtown. So it's an awesome place. It's a great place to live if you work at USC. It's an 11-minute commute, and on a really bad traffic day, it's 15 minutes. You can walk to the metro train from here. You can walk to the Los Angeles Athletic Club and go swimming or work out in their gym, which is my recommendation to you. It's the best place to work out. If you're into walking, you can walk to Whole Foods or you can walk to Ralph's. It's a wonderful place. I had a great time living there. Anyway, this is the end of the presentation. You can reach me here if you have anything, questions, or say. If you live in Pacific Electric and you have great reminiscences, please send me a note. Anyway, I will put this up shortly. Let me stop sharing this document. And I hope you enjoyed this review of the Pacific Electric building. You can tell I really liked it there and that it was a wonderful place. Anyway, have a great day. And I will stop this now. Have a great, wonderful day.